How willing are you to let them use it? I'll tell you, I'm a real traditionalist. I don't buy too much online, and I was looking at some shoes, and I don't need Google to tell me that there's a good buy in such and such a store if I'm looking for footwear. It's not a Google's business, in my judgment, that I'm looking for shoes. I'll make the decision where I want to buy them. My kids think I'm crazy. They view it as convenience. I view it as an intrusion. That's going to be part of your discussion. There's definitely going to be a difference of opinion. But I come back to that basic line. What I do in my time, in my life, with my money, where I shop, where I go, what I'm doing, that's not something I think necessarily that the government should ever have, and certainly something I don't think the private sector should have. How much information is out there about you, and how much would you accept? Think about that for a moment. The drones are very interesting discussion, right? My son had one of his buddies bring some of his drones. He's actually a really creative young man, got a drone. He figured out how to deal with technology, built a software program to oversee terrain and help build terrain maps and the like. I just kind of put it up in my front yard and started flying around the neighborhood. It's great, great thing. It's fascinating technology. I don't want your drone over my house. I don't want your drone looking in my backyard. Is it fun? Of course it's fun. Are there uses for drones? Of course there are uses. But how far do you go with this technology? For every technology, there's a possibility of great promise. Same thing with big data. My goodness, we all know the potential of being able to aggregate data in terms of what we can do to improve our environment. Healthcare, deal with some tough economic issues. I read somewhere a couple years ago, Kaiser Permanente had a huge database, looked into it. I don't know any of the restrictions, perhaps based on the inquiry. They discovered that women who gave birth to children who suffered from a form of autism, there seemed to be a relationship between the antidepressant drug they were taking and the incidence of autism. Incredibly powerful use of big data. So the question becomes, is the issue who accumulates the data? Who retains the data? Or is the issue, how is the data used? I suspect you're going to be discussing all these things in the next 2 days. Finally, at the end of the day, I think the challenge we will have is that you all have to be guardians of liberty. You can talk about this in this 2 days here, and you're going to go off in your private sector and work with nonprofits. I'm glad you're there. But this must remain at the epicenter of the public conversation with our policymakers. I'm optimistic on our ability to regulate in an appropriate and meaningful way that does not hinder our ability to make ourselves more secure, to manage that risk, but in no way infringes on our freedom. Now, I don't know if we'll ever adopt, like the European Commission has done, the right to be forgotten. I'm not too sure that there are people out there that have engaged in antisocial conduct and criminal behavior and the like. Their names ought to be public, and they can put them wherever they want. That's part of the society in which we live. But when it comes down to you and personal information, this will be an ongoing conversation, an ongoing debate. And frankly, as you as individual guardians of liberty, it'll be your job to be engaged in the debate and help shape and formulate it. I'm absolutely convinced that we can continue to keep the security in a risk-managed world against terrorism and everybody else, and at the same time safeguard our liberties. We have the capacity, we just have to have the will. And the one thing I do know is that the collective will and wisdom of the American people normally, in most instances, can hold sway. So I commend you for the conference, Amy. Congratulations. Got a great partner. I thank all of you for participating, and I appreciate having the opportunity to share these remarks with you as you begin, which will be a very intriguing and properly provocative 2 days. Good luck and enjoy.